Hi there, everybody. We're here tonight for the Long Island Blues Society Education Series. And tonight we're talking about blues harmonica. Okay, so we're talking blues harmonica for the Long Island Blues Society Education Series. My name is Mitch Weiss. Going to cover a bunch of different things tonight. We'll start off with techniques, talk about some music, and I'll start off with kind of the basics in case you're somebody who hasn't played before or is just trying to learn how to play. And please ask questions about any topic, and then I can interact with you a little bit more than just me talking. Hello there, Peter. Good evening. Okay, so first thing that everybody has to kind of get together if they're going to play harmonica, and specifically the blues, is getting one note at a time. And there's a number of ways that you can do that. So you don't want to be playing any... No, you don't want to do that. You want to do just one note. You want to get one note. Just like that. Nice clean note. And so, I just mentioned now, there's a million videos on the internet to help you learn how to play the harmonica. So if you just Google playing a single note on the harmonica, you'll get 20 or 30 videos that'll show you how to do it, but we'll just go over it briefly here. So first thing we call is a lip locking, and we might call it pucker, where you just put your lips together and blow, as some actress said. And you want to kind of keep your lips over here, your muscles here, not too tense. But of course, when you just start out, you want to just squeeze real hard, but try not to do that. So you just kind of put your and work on it till you get one note. It can feel very frustrating at first. It took me a long time to do that. Now, if you're not sure if you're getting the one note, you can always put your fingers over the harmonica like that, over the holes, just so the one note's showing, and go. So you hear what the note's supposed to, single note clean is supposed to sound like. There's another way that you can do this, and it's called tongue blocking. And back when I first started, although it may still be that way, when you bought a Hohner Marine Band harmonica, it came with a little instruction sheet. And the instruction sheet said to take your tongue, place it over the holes on one side, and blow out the other side. And I was like, what do you want to do? You try doing that for the first time, and it's like, how does anybody do that? Well, it is possible, and eventually, I learned how to do that. And so if you're very ambitious, you can try doing the tongue blocking method. So I'm actually blocking off the right side of the holes with my tongue and blowing through the left. Now, by the way, I'm using a Hohner Special 20 right now. It's not what I normally play. I normally play chromatic harmonica. This happens to be a custom-built harmonica that my friend over in England, Brendan Power, built for me. He doesn't make them anymore. And it's basically just two diatonic harmonicas, like a Marine Band or a Special 20, one on top of the other, a half step apart. Now, half step may not mean anything to some people, and we'll get into a little bit of that later. So one thing you can do with tongue blocking is get a more percussive sound going. So That's with lip blocking. Here's with tongue blocking. As you can hear, you can get a little bit more of that percussive going. So tongue blocking, a little bit further advanced, is definitely something that you want to, master. Okay, so we talked about lip blocking, tongue blocking. The other part to talk about it when you start out is breathing, okay? You might hear me play or hear harmonica plays and say, whoa, this guy has so much wind. But in truth is, you're playing into a little tiny hole on the harmonica, and you actually need very little wind, and you don't want to use too much wind. It's all about control. So some of the students that I've taught, beginners, seem to find it very hard to keep that breathing going and in and out. So one of the things that you can do to practice that is what I call the chukka chukka rhythm. Peter's asking a question. Seems your breath different that way. What way, Peter? Yes, true. Okay, be a little bit more specific on seems your breath is different that way. So you can start out very slowly, blowing and drawing on holes 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Now, if you find that you're taking in too much air, when you blow out through your nose. And if you find that you don't have enough air coming in, you can draw in through your nose. But you want to get to a better tone will come if you don't breathe through your nose, unless you have to. So that's something you need to practice, just for the breathing practice. And of course, you can make it more musical as you get a little better, starting by drawing instead of blowing. Now, it's the same thing on the smaller diatonic harmonica, the Special 20. I just feel more breathing different, tongue block versus lip block. Oh, okay, breathing is different. Not really. I'm breathing the same way. I'm just using my tongue to flap back and forth on the harmonica. That's what's causing the percussive sound. Now, another thing that you can do with your tongue blocking is learn how to blow both sides. So here I'm covering on the right hand side, my right hand side, and I'm blowing out the left. Now I can also do the other side and blow the other way. So that allows you to jump around on the harmonica quickly without moving your head back and forth. So if I want to jump an octave like that with lip blocking, with tongue blocking I can go. So that's another advantage of doing the tongue blocking. Okay, so yeah, the breathing's not really different. The cheeks move more. Yeah, well, okay, the cheeks are moving a little bit more. That's probably because of the percussiveness that I'm adding. I'm flipping my tongue back, hitting the harmonica with my tongue. And you can do it on just to jump a little bit more advanced, because I don't know where anybody who's listening might be as far as their technique. You can just do that on the 3, 4, 5 holes and get this chord. That's just playing with the tongue against the harmonica. And then you can flap back and forth. If you are familiar with Magic Dick from the J. Giles Band, that's what he does on Whamma Jamma. The beginning of Whamma Jamma. Okay, Catherine's a beginner. Okay, so feel free to ask any question, Catherine, as I continue on. Okay, so we talked about lip locking to get a single note. That's really important because you can't really continue on and get any kind of thing going without being able to play single notes. And we talked about tongue blocking, which is more advanced, and it's going to take you a while probably to do it. And then we talked about breathing, which is really important, and you don't want to use a lot of air. You want to control your air. That's very important. And then with to start off with, you have the chukka chukka chord rhythm. Now that's on holes 1, 2, 3, and 4, basically just sticking, not being worried about one hole here. We're playing what's called a chord. Okay? Dominant 7th chord, you're right. Thank you, Peter. We'll get into a little bit more of the musical theory in a minute. Okay, so talked about breathing, chukka chukka chord, okay. Now when you're working on your single notes, you have to be careful not to bend. Is your left hand blocking air? Is your left hand? No, my hand is not doing anything. You got to be careful when you get that single note. So now you got a single note. I'm playing the 4-hole draw on that. That's a good one to start off with. 4-hole draw is a good one to start. Now, a lot of people, when they don't have control of the airflow in their mouth and their throat. So what wind up happening is they bend it down a little bit and it starts to go flat. Now, bending is a technique that you do have to master, but you don't want to, have it happening without you controlling it. So that's one of the things that you have to be careful of when you're working on a single note. It's just a straight ahead, good sounding note. When you flap it, is your left hand blocking air? No, the hands have nothing to do with flapping it. Nothing. Just your tongue. Okay, so bending. All right, this is the next step after you get a single note. You want to be able to bend. Okay, so the sound of a bend is like this. Okay, that's the sound of it. And what you're doing here is basically forcing the airflow lower, and that's what's causing the note to bend. And I just got to point one thing out here. That when you bend, well, maybe I shouldn't go into that. It's kind of technical without having to take off the harmonic, take off the covers. But there's 2 reeds, right? A blow and a draw reed. When you do the bend, what's actually happening on a draw note, you're actually sounding the blow reed. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that's actually what's happening. My 4-hole is a different note. It's because on my... Okay, yeah, okay. I'll switch to a C. No problem, Catherine. There you go. Okay, so... bending. All right, so you can try to push the air down and the back of your tongue goes down, and that causes the airflow to go down, and that causes the bend. So it's a tricky thing to do, but you'll catch it. So that's bending. The 4-hole draw is a good one because it's pretty easy to bend. Okay. While we're talking about bending, let's just talk about vibrato a little bit. Vibrato is important, you know, to get that emotional sounds happening. And vibrato is tied in with bending, because what you're actually doing is bending the note down a little bit and then shaking it. So it sounds like this. So you can hear the note going back and forth. You're not moving left or right on the bend. You're not moving left or right on the bend. Peter's asking, you're not moving left or right on the bend. I don't know if everybody's seeing these messages, but I hope they are. No. You're playing one note on a bend. Hole 4 on a C harmonica. Draw. Watch my throat right down here. Nah, I can't really see that. There you can see that right here. See that's how that goes in? Yeah. So that's my throat, and my tongue is going down, and my throat is the air is going down here, and all of the vibrato is just doing that in a controlled wave and pushing with your diaphragm to get it to shake. Something about Mitch's chromatic harmonica. Okay, here we go. You have a Catherine, you have a diatonic harmonica different from Mitch's chromatic harmonica. Okay, Bill, I didn't see you before, but we'll go back to the diatonic harmonica. Same principles. And by the way, the chromatic, Bill, just for your information, is a Richter tuned. You seem to know a little bit about harmonicas. It's a Richter tuned harmonica. It's actually 2 Richter tuned harmonicas, one on top of the other, half step apart, which is how chromatics, you know, are built. So without pushing the slide in at all, I'm basically playing the same kind of harmonica as a diatonic blues harp. Hope that enlightens you on that one. Bill Lifford is what? Okay. Okay. So we talked about the bending and the vibrato. So anybody wants to come back to questions on that, why don't you do so? And then we can talk further about it. Again, 1 million videos by 1 million people on the internet that can help you after this. Introduction, so to speak, to these topics. Okay, let's talk about music a little bit, musical theory. For those who are brand new and maybe have no musical background, blues song structure, not necessarily blues music in general, just the blues. The blues' song structure refers to something that's 12 bars long, with a 1-4-5 progression, and then from there there's like loads of variations that you can do and still have it sound like a blues song. Like Catherine, you have the C harmonica, and for most blues playing, people play in what's called second position. So now I'm going to talk about these positions on harmonica, which is another way to refer what key you're playing the harmonica in. And what's called second position, also called cross harp, is where the 1 chord of the progression, so if we're playing in, let's say, the key of G, is a note of G. So the second hole draw on the diatonic harmonica is a G. The first hole blow and the fourth hole blow is a C, which is the 4th note of the chord of the progression in blues. So it would be, the 5th. So G would be, in G, C is the 4th note in the progression. and then D would be the fifth, and D would be the fourth whole draw. So, to take a step back, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Those are the notes of the C scale. And if you're playing in the key of C or D or E, whatever it is, there's a 1, 4, 5 progression to that. So if C is the 1, then count up C, D, E, F. C, D, E, F. F would be the 4. F, G, and G would be the 5. So in the key of C, C is 1, 2, 3, F is 4, and 5, and G is 5. So in key of C, your progression would be C, F, and G. And on the harmonica, C would be the first whole blow. Let's go to better. 4-hole blow. The 4, the F, would be the 5-hole draw. And the 5 would be the 6-hole blow. Little reed problem there. So if anybody has any questions about this stuff, I know it can be really confusing, and I just kind of barely touched the surface of it. But while we're talking about that, if you're also a beginner and you're trying to figure out which diatonic harmonica key you want to pull out when you're playing with a guitar player, and he says, I'm playing in the key of G, well, you would go, how do I figure out what harmonica I would pull out if he's playing in G? Well, if I'm playing second position, okay, he's playing in G, that's G, A, B, C. You go up, count 4 like that, and C is the harmonica you need. So let's say he says, I'm playing in A. A, B, C, D. You need a D harmonica to play in A. Again, all of this can be found on the internet. Just Google what are positions on harmonica, and you'll get many answers. You get the answers. Okay, so I'm talking about second position, which means you're on a C harmonica. You're playing in G, and your root note, the 1, is the 2-hole draw or the 3-hole blow. They happen to be the same. Draw, blow. And then the 4 note is the 4-hole blow or the 1-hole blow or the 4-hole blow. And the 5 is the 4-hole draw or 1-hole draw or 4-hole draw. So that was the 12-bar blues, 1 note for each chord, just played in what is called quarter notes. Without getting into that too much, every bar of music is divided up into 4 beats in what's called 4/4 time. And if you play 1 note on each beat, 4 beats, 1 note on each one, that's a quarter note, like 1/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Quarter note. Okay, so we talked about the 1, 4, 5 progression. We talked about second position. First position is playing the harmonica in the key it is tuned to. So we have a C harmonica here. If we blow on the first note, on the first hole, that's the key that harmonica is tuned to, C. If we wanted to play the blues 1, 4, 5 in first position, on the lower notes, we have to do a bend to get one of those 3 notes. So that's the 1. That's the 4. That's the 5. So that was 1 blow, 2 draw bent down to get F, and then 2 draw to get G. Now you don't have to bend it if you do it on holes 4, 5, and 6, right? 4 blow, 5 draw, and 6 blow. Okay. Anybody got any more questions right now? No. Okay. So we talked about bending, vibrato, first and second position. Now there's other positions. Each key, all 12 keys. We're not. That's adding now into, besides C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We are including the sharps and flats. There's 12 of those notes now, and there's 12 positions on the harmonica. Again, Google what are the positions of the harmonica, and you'll get lots of choices to give you the answers without having to go in it too in depth here. Okay, so okay, talked about vibrato, bending. Okay, let's talk about playing through an amplifier, because that's what a lot of people like to get that sound, including me. So I have here a microphone. It happens to be called the Bulletini microphone, because it kind of looks like a bullet, I guess. It's got a volume control on it. So, you know, we're getting a little bit past some of the basics now. And you can get the sound, once you amplify, you get sounds like this. That's what they call Chicago blues sound. And it was first kind of introduced by a couple of guys, Little Walter and Big Walter, who played in Chicago back in the 50s. And yeah, about the 50s. So now, for those of you who play this kind of harmonica, I just want to point out that, you know, harmonica players talk about tone a lot, okay? And a great blues harmonica player, so always a great compliment that you can give somebody has great tone. And where does that tone come from? Well, part of it is how you're playing without the microphone and the amplifier. You got to get that full tone. Unamplified. If you're bending it at all and you're getting that whiny sound, or you're getting try to listen to this. A nasal sound. Versus a full-throated sound. And again, that has to do with the passageway in your mouth and your throat, where the air is going, and you're not getting it all up into your nasal passages and nose. It's coming down here in the throat, and you're getting more of a diaphragm going in there. Then you got the next piece of the puzzle here is your microphone and how you're holding it. Now, this chromatic harmonica was actually custom built for me, as I said, and it's only 10 holes. It's built on a 12-hole CX12 Hohner chromatic, but it's custom built to cut down to 10 holes so that you can cup it with the microphone, especially if you've got little hands like me. Now, here's the standard 12-hole chromatic harmonica, okay, which also is this one's a stock model made by Seidel, whatever how they're pronounced. It's called the Seidel Symphony. But you can see that this is a lot bigger, right? Okay, and it's a lot harder to get the whole darn thing into your hand. So if you want to, here's the problem. You can see, like, if I want to get that sound, I've got to just hold this part, and then it's kind of weak sounding, thin sounding up here, because I'd have to move the harmonica like that. So that's why I prefer this. Okay, so cupping is very important because that's what's going to give you a full sound, and the only way you're going to prevent feedback when you want to play louder is you got to cup that sucker really tight. That's going to prevent your feedback. If you just get it like this, well, it's not loud enough, but you're going to get feedback. Then the third part of it is your amp or whatever you're playing through. Lots of harmonica players want to play through tube amps, and I don't blame them. They can sound really good. I used to play through super reverb, black panel super reverbs, round concert amps and stuff back in my day. But now I'm not lugging any of that stuff around, so I play through Line 6 Pod or some other amplifier. This is a Roland Microcube that I'm playing through right now that has a amp emulator, and it's on set to an emulated black panel, and you can hear it sounds pretty damn good. Okay. All right, so that's some of the basics of playing amplified. Okay, now let's talk about one other thing. When you play the harmonica, you cannot see what you're doing. It's in your mouth. So it's really important, I feel, that you be able to visualize what you're doing. So in your mind's eye, you can see yourself going all around the harmonica. So when I'm playing, I see hole 3 going up to hole 6, going up to 7 and 8. And I'm also doing the same thing with the slide on the chromatic, which obviously you don't need to use if you're not going to have if you're playing a diatonic, which same damn thing. Come on. Okay, by the way, I haven't played a diatonic in ages and ages. I had to dig through my collection of junk to get this out, just so, I wanted to show everybody that it's pretty much the same thing as this without the slide. So that 6-hole blow is being kind of uncooperative. And we'll talk about what you can do about that a little bit later. I'm going to cover that a little bit. So as I'm playing around, I'm visualizing in my mind where I am and where I want to go. So it's like seeing the keyboard with your eyes, except you're seeing the harmonica holes with your mind. And obviously that sounds kind of crazy, but I think that's pretty important if you want, once you get up to a certain advanced level, to really be able to play in a flowing manner all up and down the harmonica. Okay. Okay. Chromatic playing, okay, gives you a lot of advantages, and the concept of playing a Richter, okay, I'm sorry, let's define Richter. Richter tuning is how blues harp, marine band, special 20, those kinds of harmonicas used in the blues, that's the definition of how it's tuned, Richter tuning, R-I-C-H-T-E-R. A normal chromatic is tuned in a different way, and that's called solo tuning. Now the Richter tuning is what allows you to get that chord going, that blues chord sounding thing, going on the blues harmonica. You don't get that same chord thing happening on a solo tuned. So to talk about a little bit about, you know, my thing is, I had this idea of having a Richter tuned chromatic, and that allows you to get all the notes with either bending or not bending. So there are other ways to do that. When I say all the notes, there are notes missing in the Richter tuning that you cannot get without bending. As we spoke about earlier, if you were playing first position on the C harmonica, you got your C note, whole one blow. But the 4 note, the F, you have to bend to get that. So it would be. Draw note, bend, blow. So with the chromatic, you can go, then push the slide in instead of bending. Now, you can't get one of these, so that's out. But you can get one of these, okay? This is one of Brendan Power's later inventions, and he calls it a slide harp, I believe is what he calls it, or in this configuration, mini chromatic. So what this is it's 2 of these, okay, diatonics, one on top of the other, belted, you know, clamped together, okay, with these little guys here, okay, and then a plastic mouthpiece that slides back and forth on top of that. So this part is the mouthpiece and this is the slide. And here you can do the same thing. So you can change, you can play in all different keys this way and still get the same thing that you're doing on a diatonic if you don't want to push the slide in. So for anybody who's watching and wants to maybe explore a little bit more past the diatonic harmonica's limitations, this would be a great place to start. Okay. Now, there is another way that people get all the notes that are missing on the diatonic, and that's called using overblowing and overdrawing. And it's a technique that has been mastered by a number of people, and can make it sound really good. Maybe not 100% perfectly in tune, but pretty close. And you know, and especially the, you know, some of the guys who are just super masters at it. And I wanted to show you, you know, kind of what that's about. So, there's a, you know, very famous lick in blues called a song called by Albert King, is whose name, the song I can't remember right now. Oh, Born Under a Bad Sign. Excuse my brain fart there. So that I'm going to play it on here first. So I got that with pushing in the slide, a couple of notes on that. With you can get the same thing with overblow. Excuse me. So here's the overblow, okay? Bum, 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 bum. So I'm bending that note up. Normally what you do is you bend down, right? You're going from, if you were on the second hole, draw, as we talked about earlier, which is a G, you're bending it down to F. That's a full whole note bend. Now you can also bend it down a half step, but let's not talk about that right now. So with the overblow, you're pushing the blow reed to go kind of like whoop, to jump, and it's jumping a minor third, 3 half steps. There's another little riff, spoonful. So I'm just trying to demonstrate that you can do the overblowing, and you have harmonicas can be customized so that the overblows sound better than the one I'm doing here, because it's not really a technique I use, but I can do it. And this harmonica is not set up to do overblows. So you can get a harmonica set up by one of the customizers out there that make overblowing a lot easier and cleaner sounding. So again, the trick there is I'm kind of pushing up. I'm pushing the air stream up instead of like on the bend down. You can see this whole part of me goes down. I'm pushing up on the 6-hole blow to get that minor third jump. So again, lots of stuff on the internet. Google how do I do an overblow or overdraw, and there are many guys out there who will be able to show you that in more detail. Okay, overblows, keys and positions, we talked about that a little bit. I don't see any more questions going on. Oh. Apparently there have been a lot of questions. However, they scrolled down and I didn't see them. Sorry. So Bill is asking, sure, I play mostly third position using solo tuned chromatics. Right. Okay. Right. So I think it was pretty much Little Walter who kind of like started that. You can play in what's third position, which you can do on a chromatic or not, but that's a good position to play a minor keyed song in. So what in third position, you're actually playing in the C harmonica, you're actually playing in the key of D, which is so your first root is the 4-hole draw. So yeah, Bill, I'm here with you. Hopefully I maybe explained that a little bit better from other people. And you can get that minor chord going. Bill, I never tried a Richter tuned chromatic. It sounds cool. Yeah. Okay, so of course, if you have any more questions after the video ends, feel free to contact me via Facebook Messenger, and we can always, talk a whole lot more about lots of these topics. Okay. Let's see. Nice mic. Oh, whoops. Peter asks, is that my favorite harp? Well, yeah, I mean, this is the only harp I really play. However, I have been trying some other new things out there. Okay, Peter asks, what's the cost of that harp? I'm assuming that you're talking about the slide harp, mini chromatic. Well, that depends on what you use. It can be made with pretty much any kind of diatonics. So you can see I'm using Suzuki's, and so maybe they're 50, 60 bucks a piece, whatever they are. I mean, whatever your diatomics cost. You get 2 of those, half step apart. You get in touch on Brent. You go to brendanpower.com and you fill out a bunch of information. And I believe the way he's doing it right now is you pick somebody to put it together for you, because there is some assembly required and little bits of customizing, so to speak, to put it all together. I would say, I don't know, your total cost, depending on if your diatomics cost, let's say 50 bucks each, maybe $200, maybe $250, I don't know. But you can find that out on brendanpower.com. Okay. How much and where is it to get it? Okay, talked about that. Great advice. Approach guitar player the same. Yes, Peter. How fast are you exhaling or inhaling? Oh, okay. Speed playing. All right, so I'm not, hardly any air is used. You got the less air you can use and the more control you can use, the faster you can play. Now, playing fast, that's a whole nother thing, right? And that comes, that gets into the musical side of everything, which we haven't touched on, because we've only been talking about technique, really. But there's a whole lot more to music, blues or not, than just playing fast. Everybody nowadays is just seems to be to impress people, they got to play lots of really fast licks. And the faster you can play, and the more fast licks you can play, the more people go, whoa, wow, that's great. Okay, but for me, that's not where it's at all. Sure, you want to be able to play, have every technique possible in your bag of tricks, but that's not. It's how you put them together, okay, that makes it musical. And the idea here is to not impress somebody, it's to make them feel something. So that's where my advice to anybody is make us feel something. Don't impress us. Okay? Let's see. Oh, okay, who knew? Okay. The reed is bending, yes, but in the bends, as I said, the bend is coming from the other reed, not the draw reed, from the blow reed, amazingly enough. And if you take your covers off the harmonica and you bend the note, you don't go down, you start with the bend. If you put your finger over the blow reed on the other side, you won't get anything, because it's the blow reed that actually vibrates when you do the bend. Okay. Bill said he's going to message me later. No problem, brother. Okay. All right. Okie dokie. Okay, so we talked about the Born Under Bad sign. Oh, and then I wanted to go over other kinds of harmonicas. So you have lots of people doing crazy things, not crazy, but really innovative things with harmonicas. Here's another one of Brendan Power's inventions. It's called the Lucky 13. Okay, so now what this is, if you can see this part right here, a lower 3 notes. So it's got a lower, it has notes that are lower than the standard C harmonica, which is this one. So here's where the regular harmonica part of it, it's really just got it tacked on. So from here on up, that's like your regular 10-hole harmonica. And I can, right? Then I can go down here and get the cool sound. Yeah, it is cool. So that's the Lucky 13. They go for about 60 bucks. And yeah, I would recommend it because it's really quite cool. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. No, I don't play Echo Harp, Joe. Echo Harp, Joe. I don't, there are, right, okay, so just a brief mention, don't see too much of this in blues playing. There's echo harp, there's bass harp, there's chord harp, harmonicas, all kinds of stuff. I don't touch any of that. Okay, so we talked about the Lucky 13. Oh, I just wanted to briefly mention another one I bought at some point. This is called the XB40, okay? Another brilliant idea. Now, the reason that you can bend the 2-hole down from G to F is because the blow note is an E. The blow note actually determines how far you can make a bend. So Brendan and I think some other people came up with this idea of having extra reeds put in there so that every note, every hole is blowable. Because you cannot blow, some notes you cannot bend on a regular diatonic, right? Like on the lower blow notes. That's a 2-hole blow. It won't bend. But on this XB40, kind of cool. I never really got a good hold of it. Because it's tricky. Okay, it's tricky, but it's cool if you can do that. Define a blow note. It's when you blow. It's instead of drawing, you're blowing. So I can't show you. I can just tell you, right? So when you blow on the note, it's a blow note, and when you draw, it's a draw note. Okay. So. That was a 4-hole blow. Again, you can't blow. 6-hole. Okay, and then the same goes for the draw notes. 7-hole, you can draw that, and on here, 7-hole. No luck. That I also want to mention, that's another way you can do vibrato. I'm kind of flapping my tongue back and forth. And on the XB40, you can do that with a draw note, which you cannot do on any of these other harmonicas. Another way that you can get bends, though, on the draw notes is with something called wind savers. Now, wind savers are little pieces of plastic that go over the reed hole, and originally put on chromatics because they have all this extra stuff, all this extra stuff between you and your mouth and the reed. They weren't airtight back in the old days, not as airtight as one of these guys, right? Because there's less stuff, stuck on top of here. So. But if you put in on a diatonic, you can get it like half valved. I'm sorry, wind savers and valves, same thing. You get it half valved, then you can't get a full note, a full step bend, but you can bend it a little bit. Okay, so that's just another thing I wanted to mention as an aside. Okay, I got a page down if you see nothing new. Okay, so yeah, XB40, kind of cool. Hard to control the bends, and for me, I really couldn't start using it, as my instrument, but it's fun to play around with. Okay, going back to the Seidel Symphony, they make a bunch of chromatics, and just FYI for those advanced players, what Seidel offers is configurable harmonicas. So you can buy one of these chromatics, and I think you can also do it on the diatonics, and you have it your own tuning. Okay, you just go there and you tell them, okay, make the one hole is C, the two hole G, and blah 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 blah, and you create this chart for them, and then they make it right to your specification. So there are all kinds of tunings of harmonicas. Brendan, again, semi-genius when it comes to harmonica innovation. And by the way, he's a fantastic player too. Has always done his own tunings, and he has all kinds of stuff. He plays a lot of Irish type music, and he has tunings that are specifically made to allow him to play smoother without having to do crazy bends or jumps or anything like that. That will suit a certain song or a certain style, and he keeps coming up with new stuff. His latest thing is actually replaceable reeds. So we'll get into this a little bit in a minute about when I talk about repairs and tuning. But these new harmonicas, you can just get reeds that just put any reeds in that you want. You can take them in and out, so you can play one song with a minor tuned harmonica, then switch your reeds out and play it with in a second position blues 145 major tune. Let's see what I got. Somebody asking me a question here. I play diatonic, want to get more into chromatics. Okay, have Suzuki CX64 way over my head. What would you recommend to start? Well, I would say, Joe, why don't you Facebook message me later, or at your convenience, and we can converse about that. Okay. All right. So, the visualization. Okay. Going back to the more beginner level, listening. Okay, listening is so important. You've got to hear the music before you can play it, and so you got to listen to the guys who started it all, and they were all guys, for whatever that's worth. Little Walter, Big Walter, Sonny Boy Williamson too. Those are the three kind of recognized early innovators of blues, Chicago-style blues harmonica. And then, of course, the next generation of guys, James Cotton, Junior Wells, and the two white guys who learned at their knees, Paul Butterfield and Charlie Musselwhite. So you got to listen to all those guys play, and you got to be able to hear, this is the 1 chord, this is the 4 chord, this is the 5 chord. This is bend that, he bent this note down to get the 7th. Okay, you got to hear when they do tricks like with the tongue, or or do octaves. And you got to hear how they play the blues. It's and then the vibrato. Junior Wells has like great vibrato. James Cotton, love his vibrato. Paul, great vibrato. But vibratos are a very individual thing. Everybody's doing the same sorts of things, but they come out differently. And like what Charlie Parker said, if you don't live it, it ain't coming out your horn. And what we mean by that is that it's not just something that you pick up like in when you're just bored out of death and go. You got to spend time on it, make it part of your life, make it part of your being. And the great thing about the harmonica is that it's connected directly to you, and you can carry it in your pocket and pick it up anytime. I can't do vibrato on that very well. Okay, so listening, very important. Listen to the masters play. Hear the music. Don't just be a harmonica player. Be a musician. Learn something about music theory. So when I say 1-4-5, you know right off the bat what it is. When I say second position on a C harp, you know immediately it's G. When I say second position on an A harp, you know it's E. A, B, C, D, E. Yeah. Okay. Okay, took lessons from Billy Bauer. Oh, yeah. I think I know him. Isn't he, Peter, isn't he a chromatic player? Oh, no, is that somebody else I'm talking about? I know his name was Bauer. Okay, we talked about chromatic and diatonics. Okay, let's talk about repairs a little bit. Okay, here's the cool thing about this thing. It's modular, okay? The slide comes out. There's a brace on the back. That comes off. And the inside unit separates out from the shell. And here's what it inside looks like. And these are the reeds. Okay? Now, you can see that there's one set on top of the other. This is a chromatic. All right? And 1/2 step apart. Okay, so now, when you become a harmonica player, you sometimes need to fix the reeds, okay? Now, obviously when you start off, you're not going to be doing anything too crazy like replacing reeds, which is really not that hard, but the main things you got to do is if something gets like stuck in one of the reeds or something, or it's not bending well, or it's choking, you draw or blow on it and it just won't sound. So Lee Oscar, I believe, although there are other guys who do it, you can get a kit of harmonica repair tools and harmonica maintenance tools. So this is one thing I think that came with the Lee Oscar thing. It's a little piece of brass, and you can just slide it under the reed. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, see that? It's sliding right under the reed. And then plug it, and then you know that's going to be okay. All right. Now, one of the things that affects how the reeds sound is the gap. The gap is the space between the reed and okay. It's how much space there is in the hole, the top of the hole, and where the reed is. That's not really coming across. Okay, so again, reed gapping. Google reed gapping. You'll get 1,000 videos. But sometimes you do have to get in there and either pull the reed up like I was just doing, or push it down. If it's choking, it's probably gap is too low. So the reed is sitting too low in the hole, and you need to pull it up a little bit. If it's very weak sounding, that means there's too much air going underneath the reed, and you need to push it down in the hole a little bit more. Okay? But you need to get these tools. Here's another little guy right here that came with the Lee Oscar set, I believe, or maybe it came, I don't know where it came from. Anyway. You need to get some of these little screwdrivers, so you can take the cover plates off. And then the other thing that you would have to do is sometimes a reed goes a little flat. Okay, so you get yourself one of these little engraving guys, battery operated engraving tools, and what you would do is you would put your little piece of brass or whatever you have, under the reed like that to hold it, to support it. And then if it's flat, you give it a little bit of a scratch on towards the top of the reed. If it's sharp, you would do it towards at the base of the reed where it's attached to the reed plate. So that's like a little basic on how you can tune the reeds, which inevitably comes in handy. Okay, let's see. Pete Anson, he couldn't let me touch my guitar for the first 3 lessons. He said we had to do music first. Okay, good idea. Oh, Billy Bauer's a guitar player. Yeah. I got that, Peter. Right. Well, harmonica is a little different than guitar. I wouldn't say that you have to do music first before you start playing the harmonica, because no one's going to do that. But I hope I've given you some tips if you're just a beginner, how you can get started. Again, feel free to message me on Facebook, friend me on Facebook, message me on Facebook. And if you have more questions, if you're a beginner, and or if if you're getting stuck on something, and the video's not, the videos that you're finding on the internet are not giving you the help that you need, I'm here for you if you need me. And what I have found in teaching students is I give them a few of the basics, some of the ideas, and you really must go back and practice. And if you don't go back and practice, it's not going to happen. I can't, no teacher can, get those lips to the point where you're getting a single note. It's hard for a teacher to tell you, yeah, do this, move your throat this way or whatever, so you've got to keep practicing because it only comes that way. And as I said earlier, I was frustrated as hell when I first started. I actually resorted to, and I think there might be some people rarely who play this way, but to get a single note, I did this with my tongue. Okay, the V method. Okay, which is, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're desperate and you're not getting that single note, and you don't want to put your fingers over the holes to get one, and nothing is helping you, just try that V method with your tongue to get you, going. And quite honestly, there were indentations on the walls in my apartment that said Hohner Marine Band from me throwing these things against the wall because I was so frustrated. But if you keep going and you keep practicing, you're going to get it. Okay, you're going to get it. And obviously, I don't need to tell you that the reward is satisfaction, right? Satisfaction. No matter what level you get to, you just got to keep going and keep going and keep going. And hopefully, if you're listening to the music and the music gets you here, right? If the music gets you here, then you're going to be inspired, okay, to keep going. Even when you're most frustrated, because you want to get that sound out, you want to get that expression out. And at first it's like, I'm just making these playing some notes, but eventually you're going to put it together, and it's going to come out, and it's going to be you making music and being expressive and being creative, and that's what it's all about. So let's see. Okay, I didn't get to this part, all right, so I just want to briefly go over this, is go into the advanced part of my style, where everything that I've done led up to, which is the Richter-tuned chromatic, and being able to play jazz type songs as well as blues. Now, I'm not saying you got to play jazz, you don't have to, but I'm just going to point out that Charlie Parker, the great jazz saxophone player, his whole playing was rooted in blues. And not only was it rooted in the blues form, which he took and expanded, but it also was rooted in the blues feeling. So you don't have to lose one to have the other. And there's a most famous Charlie Parker disciple, a guy named Sonny Stitt, who told me blues and jazz, same thing. So that's where that whole thing is coming from. So what this allowed me to do was to add other ideas into my blues playing. And one of those things I just wanted to mention is the turnaround. Okay, so in a normal, this again a little bit more advanced in the blues form, after it goes 1-4-5, 4 for 1. You guys know this already. But coming back to the 1 from the 5 is called the turnaround. Okay, so a typical turnaround might be. So that would be like the way a typical blues player might play the turnaround, okay? The ending of the 12-bar phrase leading into the next chorus, next verse. So I have all these other ways that I've come up with, okay? Not all of them were like original, okay, but they were adapted from mostly saxophone players. And I just want to mention my friend Jerry Harshaw, the saxophone player when I was playing with Little Buster and the Soul Brothers, and I stole some riffs from him. And thank you, Jerry. Instead of going this, you can go. So that's a little variation of that, and I stole that from Charlie Parker. But it's a lot more interesting than going. Okay, so you have that chromaticism in there. Okay, another thing is playing on the 5 chord instead of just going on the 4-note draw, or even the 5, which is a F. That's a minor note, and usually the 5 chord is a dominant 7 chord, which has a major 3 in it, right? And so with the chromatic, I can get that major triad. And then you can do cool stuff. Something like that. Then also using tongue blocking. Okay, so that was another thing that I figured out using tongue blocking, which is, I don't hear too many people doing that one. How about just a straight descending chromatic at the end of a turnaround, which I played at the beginning when I was doing my tune from my head down to my toes. So that's a thing that a little gospel flavor that you got in there at the end. Now you can play that on a diatonic without having to worry about the slide. So now I just bent the 4 hole down to get that. And the great thing about this is you can get those notes that are missing either by bending, or you can get them by using the slide. And I just wanted to mention one other thing, and that is when you combine the 2 harmonicas, the C and the C sharp harmonicas, there's some duplicated notes down in hole 3. So what I do is I retune hole 3 to get rid of the duplicated notes and give me the notes that are missing. So hole 3, blow, instead of being a G sharp, I make it an A, which is not normally in a note that's on the Richter harmonica. Now, or you can bend to that. So you get the best of both worlds. Now, and hole 3 draw, that's a C, which is the same as the hole 4 blow. So I changed that to B flat, which is another note that's missing. So now I have that minor third. I'm talking about, second position. Now I can also bend to that. Or I can use a slide. Now what I find is, using this, if I want to play in the key of B flat instead of G, as an example, it's a lot cleaner to use the slide to get that B flat than it is to bend it. Okay, so in addition, the three-hole draw has got valves on it so that you can get a little bit of expression. Which actually is a cool thing. So that's some of the stuff that I'm doing that expands, you know, what you can do on the blues. And you can do so that was sloppy as hell, but that was Louis Armstrong's West End Blues introduction. So, okay, so yes, Peter, second position is a good place to start because it's the most commonly used in blues by far. And it's also probably the most versatile as far as being able to bend notes and bend them and get the sounds of the blues. First position is probably, is used sometimes. Third position is often used for minor playing. So you have, that sets up for the minor playing. You can go. So you can do that sliding while you're drawing in on all the notes. And you can move a lot smoother that way. It's like Dorian mode second position. Okay, I'll buy that. All right. So that was pretty much what I had to talk about. Yeah. So let's see if anybody else have any other questions that I don't see. Okay, can we hear you play? Well, I just did. Back to the Lucky 13. Oh God, I'm a little out of it tonight. Yeah. So that's Charlie Parker's Au Prévave, half-assedly done. Sorry about that. So unless there's some other questions, I think we got a wrap. How about a closing time? How about a closing tune? Oh, a closing tune. Well, I guess we'll have to end with the one I just played. Oh, okay. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. All right, so that's going to be it. It's a wrap. Last chance for questions. Going once, twice. Anybody? Well, if you're not watching this live and you're watching it subsequently. Thank you, Catherine. Then feel free to message me, friend me on Facebook to answer any questions. And I'm always available to do it. Thanks, Catherine. Okay, guys. Oh, wait a minute. Will be saved on the web. Yes, will be saved on the web. If I do the correct thing. Peter, you're going to help me out, right? Alrighty. Okay. Alright, folks. It was fun. Hope I got some people inspired. If you're starting out, and hope got you inspired if you wanted to keep going and you're already a blues player. So, see you around. Thank you, everybody.